Hi, I'm Fraser Douglas, the avid tent camper. In this video, I want to show you my new River Traders French ball knife and explain why I think it's a great choice for your camp kitchen. This knife is a copy of an old French trade knife, or sometimes called scalper's knife, that was made by Dean Oliver. Its profile is very similar to the profile of the beloved chef's knife, with a full body, a straight back, and a sharp point. The blade is 5 inches long and the handle is 4 inches long. In this photo, you can see how it compares with a few other knives that I have used in my home or camp kitchen. It's a full tang knife with a very thin carbon steel blade. It's got 2 maple slabs that have been put together to make a handle. It has 6 small brass pins holding everything together. It has a fancy little Spanish notch. I'm not sure what the function of that is. And on this side, it's got the etching of a canoe, and it's got a little bit of file work at the top of the blade. I think it's a beautiful knife. I especially like this ball on the handle because when I want to retrieve it from my sheath, I could just hook it with a finger and pull it out very easily. The blade is just 1/16 inch thick, or 6/100ths of an inch thick, which is about half the thickness of many kitchen knives. This very thin blade makes it an excellent food slicer, but a poor choice for wood processing. Bushcraft knives, such as the Benchmade knife shown on the right in this photo, are 3 times as thick. I bought this knife along with its sheath from Knives of the North for $67. To show you how good this knife is as a kitchen knife, I'll be making some beef stew in my home kitchen, but you could easily make this stew in your campsite. The first step is to cut our stew beef into very small pieces and remove the excess fat. So a piece like that, I'll just maybe cut 2 or 3 times, and this knife goes right through it. Have to be careful. It's a sharp knife. Got to be careful not to cut my fingers. Get another piece here. Cut this one several times. I don't want to look up when I'm working with the knife. I'll cut my finger off. I really like this knife because it just slides through these pieces of beef stew like butter. When cutting these pieces, I also try to trim off as much fat as it's possible. And you'll see this is all my fat over here, so that most of what goes into my stew is lean. That's a lot of fat there. Well, now I've got my stew meat cut into small pieces, and now I'm going to coat them with flour. Just a couple of handfuls of flour, and just sort of work that into them. Maybe a little bit more. And I'm going to put them in the Dutch oven to brown. And then after they're browned, I'll add water and start cooking them for an hour before adding vegetables. Okay, now I'm going to put a little bit of oil. Turn this up. A little bit of, what is that, Mazola?
Yeah.
I'll put a little bit of Mazola corn oil in here. and also add a little bit of butter. When this warms up, we'll put our floured stew beef in here to let it brown. While my meat is cooking, I'll be cutting up these vegetables to add. I don't have my carrots out yet. The carrots will be the first vegetables that'll need to go into the pot because they take the longest to cook. Then I'll put my onions, my bell peppers, and my potatoes in to make the stew. The stew beef now is browning in the Dutch oven, and while it's browning, I'm going to start cutting the carrots into small pieces. Again, I want to be careful not to cut my finger. Some chefs move those big knives pretty fast, but I just never have learned how to do that. So I'm cutting up my carrots, and it just goes right through them. My little carrot pieces are trying to run away. Cutting the carrots into small pieces will help them cook faster. As soon as my stew beef has browned, I'm going to add my carrots and a package of McCormick's beef stew mix, plus about 3 cups of water, and let this simmer for about 50 minutes. While it's cooking, I'll need to stir often and be sure to scrape the bottom of the pot because that flour will want to stick to the bottom. Now, everybody has a different way of cutting onions, and some chefs do it a lot faster and better than I do. But let me just show you how I cut an onion, and I'll show you why this knife is just perfect for my particular onion cutting style. First thing I do is I take a half an onion and then I start slicing long ways. And when I've done that, I turn them sideways and cut them across as small pieces as I can. And when I get to the point where I feel it's a little too dangerous, I turn them on their side and finish cutting them the rest of the way. So we got that one cut up. I'm going to put that in a bowl, and I'm going to cut another onion to put in my beef stew along with this one. So it's going to have 1.5 onions in it. Dave and I like a lot of onions. So this is a small onion that I'll cut. I'll cut it in half to start with. Cut the ends off, and again, and this knife just goes so smoothly through those onions. I want to be careful not to cut myself. Okay, now got that one done. And one more. Well, I've got the bell peppers cut along with the onions, and now I'm going to start working on the potatoes. We really like these little red potatoes because we think they taste great and you don't have to peel the skins off. It's very easy to cut them. And so that's the potatoes that we put in our beef stew. And again, this knife goes through these potatoes just like butter. So smooth. And one last one. Well, here's our beef stew loaded with vegetables. Now we're going to put the lid on and let them cook down for about 50 minutes. Can't wait. To go with our beef stew, I made this loaf of bread in the Dutch oven earlier in the morning. We'll put a lot of butter on each piece.
It's 7 to 7.
Okay. We're going, Lyle.
Okay.
Well, Lyle, what do you think about that beef stew?
I haven't tried it. Let's give it a shot. It's hot.
It's hot.
Yummy. It's really good, and your homemade bread. Fantastic.
Great.
Use the homemade bread to sop up the stew.
You gotta have bread with stew. There's my bowl. In sum, I love this knife, and I especially like the thin blade and the blade profile. It's very easy to use in the kitchen. My one little problem with it is I wish that handle was about an inch longer for my larger hands. And since it is a carbon steel blade, you'll need to wash and dry this knife immediately after every use. Don't let water sit on the blade or it will rust. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed this little video. I hope that you've learned a little bit more about camp kitchen knives, and I hope that maybe you'll consider this River Trader's knife as a good addition to your camp kitchen. Remember, take more trips, travel further, visit more attractions, and save money. Go tent camping. For more information about camp kitchen equipment and other camping equipment, please subscribe to this channel. Visit my website and check out this video that is featured below. Thanks for watching.